Let's make a super easy chicken thigh recipe. So to start, I'm going to pour some milk onto my chicken here. Here I've got about 10 pounds of milk. And after our milk is added, I'm going to be adding some water on top, about 0.35 pounds of water. That's room temperature. And now we're going to season everything. So here I've got half a teaspoon of pepper. I have 1 teaspoon of salt here. And once I've added my salt and pepper, I'm going to use a spoon just to mix everything as well as possible. Now that our seasonings are added, we're going to turn on our heat and we're going to cook this for 20 minutes until our milk starts to evaporate a little bit. All right, so to continue, we're going to prepare some pasta. So here I'm adding about 3.5 ounces of flour and about 3.5 ounces of breadcrumbs. I'm going to add that as well. 1 teaspoon of saffron, 1 teaspoon of paprika. I'm going to be adding 1 teaspoon of salt. Here I've got a teaspoon of black pepper and a teaspoon of oregano. So now that I've got all of these seasonings, I'm going to mix them really, really well. This is such a good combination of ingredients. It's going to make our chicken so tasty. This is a really good mixture. I definitely recommend trying this at home. And it's pretty easy to come together. Okay, now that we've got all of our seasonings mixed together with our flour and our breadcrumbs, we're going to set this aside and we're going to wait for our chicken to cook. Okay, so in another pan here, I'm going to be adding 2 whole eggs, 1 and 2. Try and use large eggs for this recipe if you can get them. All right, and here I'm adding milk, about 1/4 pound of milk. And in this mixture, we're going to use to help bake our chicken thighs. All right, whisk this up until it's all nice and incorporated. We want the eggs and the milk to be one consistency. If you want to use a whisk for this step, you totally can. I'm just using a fork, but if you want to use a whisk, you can go ahead and do that. I just find it more practical to use a fork. All right, now this is all whisked together, looking excellent. Our chicken is ready. So now that our chicken is starting to cook, we're going to remove it from the pan. Look at that. Look how delicious that looks. I'm going to be adding it to a plate here. Very carefully because this is really, really hot. All right, we want this to cool so we can start our breading process. Okay, so first we're going to take our chicken and we're going to add it into our egg mixture that we just made. Now, be very patient with this process. Make sure you take the time because this is the most important part of the recipe. Okay, we've just dipped it in egg and now we're going to be dipping it into our seasoned breadcrumb and flour mixture. Now, try not to leave too much flour on this chicken. We want to make sure it's evenly incorporated but not caked on with a ton of flour. So give it a little tap to remove some of that. We're going to place it back on our plate and we're going to repeat with the rest of our chicken. All right, now we're going to move over here, a pan with some hot oil. I'm going to add our chicken into the hot oil to fry. We're going to cook this until it's a nice, deep, golden brown color, and look how crispy this is. This is the result after frying it. Now these are going to be really, really hot, so be super careful. All right, so I let them cool. I'm going to cut into them so you can see just how moist and delicious this chicken is. Oh, look at that. It's perfect.